What is a good life really, and how do we get there? This is a question we ask ourselves here at Makers Valley, a community based in the eastern outskirts of Johannesburg CBD, and is looking towards enabling our neighborhood towards a well-being economy through social and creative enterprise. What is a well-being economy, you might ask? Well, it's an economy that aims to build a human environment that is socially and ecologically just. Our well-being and the things that matter most to us in life, the things that really contribute towards a good life, will be affected more and more by the changes in the climate. And we are only beginning to understand how well-being and climate change are connected. Many of our activities produce greenhouse gases, which are changing the climate. And these changes can affect the things that matter most to us in life. Things that form the core of our well-being, our physical and mental health, a secure income, a flourishing natural environment, even our identity can be affected by the changes to the climate. The people, places, and things that make a person feel safe, happy, healthy, satisfied, all contribute to well-being. And our well-being can suffer if the things that matter most to us are lost. So there are really strong interconnections between our environment, our identity, and our social connection. So what is wrong with our current economy? And why do we need a new one? Well, it's exploitation. Exploitation of the world's resources. And they are skewed in favor of those who are already rich, with millions of people from majority world countries like South Africa who are continually slaving away to service high-income country markets while bearing the burden of worsening environmental conditions and an unstable climate. But we only have one Earth, and if we are to sustain it, we need to change our economies in order to live within healthy planetary boundaries, while still ensuring that basic needs and social well-being are taken care of for everyone. And only in this way can we avoid disaster and ensure a just world for all. Climate change is deeply interlinked with global patterns of inequality. As the climate continues to change, millions of poor people face greater challenges in terms of extreme events, health effects, food security, livelihood security, migration, water security, cultural identity, and many other related threats. And certain social groups are particularly vulnerable, such as female-headed households, children, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, migrant workers, displaced persons, older people, and other marginalized groups. The root causes of their vulnerability lie in a combination of their geographical locations, their financial, socioeconomic, cultural, and gender status, and their access to services, decision-making, and justice. And we at Makers Valley Partnership and other groups are calling for more ambitious action on climate change. Climate change is more than an environmental crisis. It is a social crisis, and it compels us to address issues of inequality on many levels, between wealthy and poor countries, between rich and poor within countries, between men and women, and between generations. And therefore, climate justice is social justice. And we believe that communities like ours bring unique perspectives, skills, and a wealth of knowledge to the challenge of strengthening resilience and addressing climate change. Communities like ours should be engaged as partners in resilience building, rather than being regarded merely as beneficiaries. Research and experience have shown that community leaders can set priorities, they can influence ownership, and design and implement investment programs that are responsive to their community's own needs. A small and local example I can share with you is the community currency, our MVPs, that were developed in our community due to local active citizens and social entrepreneurs seeing an opportunity to reward recycling and waste reduction through a point system that enables residents to access food. It was a crucial need that was highlighted to us at the start of COVID. And this collaboration between Love Our City Clean, the People's Pantry, facilitated by Makers Valley Partnership, and the contribution of other stakeholders such as Victoria Yards, Nando's, and other local NGOs continues to this day with much buy-in and relief for our local community. So this tiny illustration serves to emphasize the point that a whole of society approach is needed. Working with national and local governments, civil society, grassroots communities, and other partners to strengthen social resilience at a ground level, where the effects of climate change are typically felt the most, and to promote meaningful engagement of communities and other social groups in climate change decision-making and action. As we adapt to a changing climate, it is vital that we listen to and learn from people and communities. And that is why a truly inclusive approach can often begin at the community level. So what can be done? Some important starting points. 1, supporting community-driven development. Approaches that empower communities to drive a climate agenda in support of their developmental goals, promoting great transparency and accountability on climate finance with local stakeholders. Another way is supporting evaluation and dialogue on what a just transition looks like in specific contexts. Another, facilitating processes needed to support key transitions. Engaging communities and citizens in climate decision-making, building awareness and political will amongst governments and partners on the need to understand and address the social dimensions of climate change. Fostering strong collaboration across different practice areas to bring together and empower communities and marginalized social groups to reduce risks to future crises. And to bridge the gap between the local, subnational, and national levels for effective climate change support. When thinking about change, and more specifically, economic systems change, we need to acknowledge that this cannot just happen in government buildings or parliaments. Change needs to happen at all levels. And these conversations around the economy need to happen in the spaces and places of the majority. And I believe that storytelling, cultural and creative projects are one of the best ways of doing this. An example is the Wellbeing Economy Alliance, along with other partners, hosted the Common Ground Music Festival in Glasgow last year at a side event to COP26, bringing together the important conversations around economic systems change and music in one place. Another way is through sustainable cultural tourism, something that we at Makers Valley Partnership are actively involved in. Tourism that does not exploit and undermine, but preserves and lets local culture flourish in ways that are beneficial for both the visitor and our local people. And this community-based initiative, Makers Valley Partnership, represents a multi-actor, cross-sectoral network that is driven by private sector actors and civil society organizations who are mobilizing support from public actors. And it's these partnerships, such as the ones you see around me, between Victoria Yards, Makers Valley Partnership, and the multitude of change-making organizations that are based in this community, that are resulting in awards by organizations such as the ULI, the Urban Land Institute, or being applauded in the Daily Maverick as a network of possibility. Because what we are seeing is increased social cohesion, community engagement, active citizenship, and celebrated diversity, and thereby projecting a neighborhood that is based on solidarity and interculturality. And we are seeing businesses and community groups using their commercial value in order to contribute towards social, cultural, and environmental value. And this should not be just unique to communities like ourselves. I believe that Africa as a whole is uniquely positioned to do this. As Africans, we are inherently creative and have many cultures and traditions that have been lost due to a westernized economic system. I believe the Africa we want to see, as per the AU, is the one that is centered around a well-being economy. An economy that recognizes and celebrates what makes us African. An economy that respects our people and our land, that affirms our interconnectedness and our spirit of Ubuntu. It does not idolize GDP. It does not put profit before our own people. It does not exploit and continuously take from our earth. It is not rushed in order to win first. It is not driven by greed, pride, or corruption. No, instead it is slow and considered, just like our elders were, who took the time to engage with community members to co-create our tomorrow. The Africa we want to see, a good life really, is a return to who we were, who we still are when we realize and value our indigenous knowledge and share it with the world. I truly believe that it is fitting that the origin of humankind is Africa, and it can demonstrate what a new economy could look like for the rest of the planet. It is also an opportunity to rewrite the history books and right the wrongs of the past, where Africa gets to illustrate what humanity and society could and should look like. One that uplifts our African identity and uses our heritage and African wisdom in paving the way forward.